Hello traders, Mark B Markets here. My name is Mark Principato. Thanks for joining me for another analysis session here on my live stream. So again, real quick, I want to try to make this as quick as possible. I'm going to only focus on three markets today, right, that I'm going to talk about, so then I can spend more time on your questions. So I'm going to talk about Bitcoin. I'm going to talk about the stock market and gold. Okay, so anything else you want to know around that, like specific stocks, or you want to know about any altcoins, again, just share the symbol or the market in your chat. If it's an altcoin, just make sure you put USD after it so I know. Okay, so let's get this thing started. This is for educational purposes only. For investment advice, please consult a licensed investment advisor. Also, let me know if my sound is okay. You know, sometimes it may come in too low. And so let's get this thing started here. All right, hold on a second while I get myself on the screen. All right, here we go. All right, so I made some adjustments to my microphone, so hopefully you guys can still hear me okay. I'm gonna move it a little bit. People make fun of me with this thing, so I'm gonna move it. All right, there. So let's first, today's Monday, right? And the idea behind the weekly analysis or the weekly forecast is to try to get a sense of a sense of probability, or where the favorable probabilities are for the week, the coming week, right? So as the week unfolds, that we're prepared. Now, of course, I don't use that word prediction like a lot of guys like to use, or a lot of these analysts like to use, because that implies absolutes. We cannot know. We don't know where the market's going, okay? But we can get some clues as to where the favorable probabilities are. And if the market offers those opportunities, then we should be prepared to act. And also, we should have our risk measured, okay? That's the best we can do. So let's get into it. The first thing I want to do is talk about the economic calendar real quick. It's off my screen. TradingView has its own economic calendar, so I suggest you use that. But it's important, especially if you're in Forex pairs or if you're in the stock market, to be aware of any important scheduled economic news that's coming out throughout the week. Now, today, which is Monday, we have Australia, we have the RBA meeting minutes. Okay, no big deal there. Now, tomorrow is the 18th. This calendar that I use, they used to have the timestamps on them, but now, there's no timestamp. So sometime tomorrow, it could be 4 a.m. Eastern time, it could be 7:30 a.m. You have the British pound ILO unemployment rate and a claimant count change for the pound. So again, if you're in that pair, you should look up the time for that report. Again, it shouldn't have a major effect. The pound is on its way higher relative to the dollar, thanks to inflation that we have in our country here. So also we have for Europe the GDP, gross domestic product, that's coming out tomorrow as well, quarter over quarter, year over year. And the ECB president speaks, okay? So again, you want to make sure that you're just aware of the time of when those events occur, so that in case there's any kind of erratic movement, you're prepared for it, okay? On the 19th, we have consumer price index for the pound. We also have Bank of Canada consumer price index. I wouldn't worry too much about that. Also on the 19th, we have President Lagarde, ECB president, speaking again. So, again, I wouldn't worry too much about like other markets, but if you're involved in the euro, maybe the DAX can be affected, things like that. Now, also on the 19th, which is Wednesday, we have the FOMC minutes, okay, the meeting minutes. That typically comes out around 2:30 p.m. Eastern time, okay, between 2 and 2:30 p.m. So if there are any surprises in that, you could see a jiggle in the market. But again, usually the meeting minutes don't have like a major effect. It's not like an FOMC meeting, and it's not like NFP or anything like that. So I wouldn't worry too much about it. Again, especially these items are especially important if you're taking intraday trades, okay? So then we have on the 19th, we have Chinese, the Bank of China interest rate decision. That can have an effect on things. Also Australia, unemployment rate. We also have on the 19th, New Zealand's budget release. Again, these aren't big numbers. Now on the 20th, once again, we have ECB President Lagarde's, Lagarde is speaking a lot this week, okay? So just want to be aware of it. I don't see anything from Fed Chairman Powell. I don't see anything from Yellen here. So those are usually, they carry more of a heavier weight if they're speaking. Also, Australia retail sales, and on the 21st, German market manufacturing. Again, no big numbers. Those aren't big deals. So again, I'm looking for NFPs, which is the first Friday of every month. I'm looking for FOMC meetings. I'm looking for testimony from Chairman Powell, because those are things that could move markets in a big way. Okay, we have also on the 21st, this European number, market PMI composite. Okay, none of this is really that important. Okay, so there's not much going on in the scheduled news space. All right, so let me just say hi to everyone in the chat here. Again, I am simulcasting today, so I'm going to try to answer as many questions as possible. I see HS. Hey, HS. I see Ricky, Jay, Alex. Good to see you all. Joe, nice to see you. Shubham, good to see you. All right, cool. And then over here, I have G-Mainit. Hey, nice to see you. All right, cool. Bot trades and Crypto Donkey. Cool. All right, so let's do this. First, I'm going to talk about Bitcoin. All right. Now, here's the Bitcoin situation. Again, if you read my analysis on TradingView yesterday, I talked about a potential buy signal. Now, if you read the article, all right, I talked about this pin bar that was developing over here in this area. Now, I actually put, like, you know, when you write a TradingView article, you could put long, neutral, or short. I actually clicked on the long button because of the general area. But if you read the article, all right, it said that I'm waiting for a specific price to be broken, or confirmation, right? Now, in the article, I wrote 58.9 or whatever it was. The actual number was 59.9 or 58.850, I think I wrote. But the actual high of the candle, if you look here, I'm sorry, 49. Today's Monday. 49. 49.8 is the high of the candle, as you can see here, right? The high of that candle right there. I put 48.9. Okay, which was a mistake on the TradingView article. It didn't go there anyway, so no one should be caught in any of this. Now, the market never confirmed, all right? And here we are, we're pushing what, lows of 42,100. Okay, fine. You know what? The market is still in a generally attractive area. We're not getting price action confirmation. So as far as the week ahead goes, can't do anything with this. Now, for longer term trades like position trades, hey, anything below 45K or between 45 and 40K, that's not a bad area to pick up some inventory, but you have to be small with it, okay? I mean, anything is possible with these things. 2 months ago or a month ago, when this thing was pushing 64.8, right, or 65K, that was the second week of April there, no one, I'll say that again, no one was calling for a test of 45K at that time. I was the only one saying it's a high risk level because of this resistance. I kept saying it. Go back to my videos, go back to my analysis on TradingView. I said it a million times, right? High risk, high risk, high risk. Everyone else, long, it's a long, it's a long. It's not a long at 65K. Now, we are at attractive levels, and we have to wait for price action to confirm if we're going to take a swing trade, because we need to be able to measure risk in a proportional way. Right now, we can't do that with this open candle, right? Candle needs to be closed, number one. Number two, it needs to give us the right look. That's definitely not the right look right now. So we step aside, right, as far as swing trades go. Keep in mind, there's a difference between swing trades and position trades or inventory. You need to know that difference, okay? Most of the people that follow me know. So that's what's going on with that, right? So there's nothing to do with Bitcoin. Just let it find its support. If it breaks 40K, that's a problem, because 40K is a pretty heavy-duty support. It was a previous resistance, okay, as you see, going back a number of months. If it clears that support, I would hold off on anything until this thing can prove some kind of stability. Remember, just like the cannabis stocks, just like the electric vehicle stocks, this thing is going to go out of favor too. All right, and all the garbage altcoins with it. So just something to keep in mind. It doesn't mean it's going to be in a bear market, but it can consolidate for 6 months to a year, right? Which we've been talking about, the broad wave 4. So just a few things to keep in mind. So again, people are asking, is now the time to buy? I would not buy this thing just yet, although I'm interested in the location, okay? Location's not enough. Now, let me jump over to the stock market real quick before I spend, a half hour ranting about this, all right? So let's take a look at the NASDAQ. NASDAQ has been very tricky. This is going to affect a lot of stocks. So if you're involved in stocks, you really should spend time looking at the NASDAQ and S&P. We keep getting questions. Here's the S&P. I mean, this isn't really too bad today, not yet, but we're possibly looking at a lower high. So let me go back to the NASDAQ. Whenever you're taking a stock trade, you really should consult these charts first, because these are basically like your leaders, right? Your Bitcoin gauge, sort of like how we use Bitcoin as the leader, all right? And these things are very similar to that. So if these things are not doing well, most likely your stock won't either. That's why you can't look at a lot of stocks in isolation. But not all stocks are highly correlated to the NASDAQ and the S&P. You know, there are your standard ones that are, like, you know, the tech stocks, the semiconductor stocks. I mean, they're going to follow the NASDAQ pretty closely. But then you have like biotechs and stuff that are going to be more sensitive to their own variables and their own news and stuff like that. So you really need to know your stock, and then it really helps to compare to the market. So as far as the week goes, right, as far as clues for the week, this is what I see on the NASDAQ. And right there, right, we have this old support, which is what? 13,400, which is now acting as a resistance. Is this a surprise? Not at all. So if we get this candle is going to close in less than an hour. If we take out this low of, what is that, 13,192, all right, so basically we can round that to 13 even. This thing takes out 13 even tomorrow. That would confirm the lower high, and where there are lower highs, right, what's likely to follow? A lower low. Now we have our SQQQ position, so you know it's required a lot of patience to sit through a lot of nonsense, but we'll see if we make that lower low. And I would be anticipating that over the next few days. Now, the other scenarios that we can see in the NASDAQ over the next few days, because again, here's what you need to understand. The charts will give us clues, right? And that's what we're looking for. But then some catalyst can come out of nowhere and then change things. You have to be able to adjust. The chart is not going to tell us of the catalyst. This chart, or actually the Bitcoin chart, there is no way to know from the chart that Elon Musk was going to come out the other day and say he's not accepting Bitcoin, you know, for his cars or whatever. There was no way to know that from a chart, right? So people that are all like caught up with the, you know, with these oscillators and all this stuff, they're not going to help you get into news like that. In fact, even knowing the news is not going to help you unless you know it in advance. So that's why we need to focus on levels. And then a lot of times some type of catalyst will come around and turn this thing at a predetermined level. Is it a coincidence? No. The catalyst just moves the market faster to where it was most likely going to go anyway. Right now, these boxes that I drew on the chart, these are the levels I'm going to be watching very carefully as the week goes on. So 130, what was that? Sorry, not 130. 1376. So basically 13 even, 13,000 on the NASDAQ. And then this low, 12, what is that? 12.9, the 12.9 area, okay? And maybe slightly lower. If the market tests those levels and we get the reversal, that's going to be a bullish sign, especially since you have this consolidation back here, right? And you may get some buying activity in that area. If we clear that area, then I'm going to be very confident with my SQQQ, because that thing should do well when we start breaking these lows, right? Now, another thing to keep an eye on, all right? And I've been telling people, check this out, the US 10. Have you seen this thing? This is the 10-year note, right? The 10-year Treasury note. Government bonds, okay? This is ridiculous. That looks like an altcoin. That looks like Cardano. Bonds never move like this, ever. So, you know, I don't pay any attention to news, but when I saw this candle, I suspected, okay, I'm like, you know what? That's Fed intervention right there. That's the Fed putting you know, buying bonds to keep rates low or whatever they're doing. Perhaps there was some news that came out on that day that, you know, just pretty much highlighted what I just said, but I don't know, right? All I see is this vertical candle in the bond market, which is very, very unusual, which means inflation, because higher bond prices mean lower yields. Lower yields means cheaper dollar, okay? Cheaper dollar means inflation. So that's why, that brings me to gold, XAU, USD. Look at gold. We called this swing trade, okay? I sent this out back, I'm going to show you where I sent it out, back here, okay? On 1720 was the buy stop, and that was on March 30th. March 30th. We've been it since then. It's what? Target 2 was 1830 was target 2. Target 3 is 1880. Today's high is 1868. So it took since March 30th, right, to get this far. That just goes to show how long it takes a swing trade to unfold. I mean, and you have to sit through all this noise and all these little fake outs and all this other nonsense. But that's a swing trade, not a day trade. So anyway, this move on gold is definitely in line with the inflation scenario. It's made a higher high from the higher low. So I would anticipate that this trend is going to continue as the week unfolds. Now, I'm going to point out real quick. First Majestic Silver, AG. Look at this thing today. Okay, this thing is up $1.38. Now, as you can see, I sent this one out. We sent out a trade of the week, which is a free trade we send out. And I called gold. That was a few weeks ago. It's probably about 3 weeks ago. I called gold as a trade of the week. And I also sent out, privately, I sent out a buy stop on AG, okay, at 16. Now, the reason why I'm pointing this out is because over these 2 weeks, and I've talked about this one in my analysis here and in a few other places, you had about 2 or 3 opportunities to buy this thing at 16 because it was just, gyrating around the level. Now, forget it. Now this thing's on its way, so you can't touch it now. You had to take the risk when you had the chance, right? And this thing went as low as 14.84. The stop is 14. So as you can see, this is silver. Silver is going to follow gold. So that was what this trade was based on. It was an alternate to XAU because a lot of people may not have access to the CFD, right? So there's this stock you could trade. Also, look at wheat and precious metals. Look at this. Okay, we were buying this thing back in February when it had all this ugly price action, right? When it looked like this. And when gold was testing 1675 and breaking, 1700 and getting everyone worried, I accumulated inventory, right? And my average price is 40. This thing's at 47.5 right now. Beautiful. That's what we want to see. That's what an inventory trade is all about. You have to have the courage and the oversight, or I should say maybe the vision or the confidence to recognize the opportunity in this type of situation. It's not easy. This also had to do with gold fundamentals, right? Usually when you're dealing with inventory, fundamentals can be a more helpful piece of information compared to smaller time frame trades. Okay, so those are the 3 things I wanted to cover. Look, I'm still 17 minutes into this. So I want to spend time now on your questions. Again, I appreciate everyone's questions. Again, I'm just going to run through the chat real quick, make sure my sound, I don't see any problems with my sound. I don't see any complaints. Okay, cool. By the way, if you want to tell me what country you're from, I see some people put some countries. It's always fun for me to hear that. I'm broadcasting from the New York City area, also known as Northern New Jersey. Yes, I have an accent. That's where it's from. And I'm about 15 minutes outside of New York City. I could drive there by car, right? I can also see it sometimes depending on if you're on a hill. Anyway, all right, so let's go through these questions here, right? So I'm going to start over here. Okay, HS, thinking of buying Theta. What would be a good level to long it, and what do you think at $7? Okay, so Theta, right? Theta. Now, here's the thing. I mentioned Theta earlier today because Theta is acting relatively strong to Bitcoin, right? That's a little unusual. Bitcoin is pretty much acting weak at the moment, along with most of its altcoins. And then you have this, right? What's going on here? So here's the thing. I think you have an attractive location on Theta because you're near a range low, okay? It's not the best price, but you don't always need the best price. Your risk can be defined by 8.5, right? Around that 8.5 level, which is this area here. Actually, I'll put a line there. This area here, it's that range low, right? That 8.5 area there, it's slightly lower than, but if you're looking at a swing trade, that's what you're looking at. So if you buy this thing, I mean, it would be probably a good idea to wait for this candle to close. This is an outside bar, which is still in development. If it takes out the high of the outside bar, which is 10.5 basically, I mean, that's when the buy signal becomes active. Now, again, at that point, you're buying around the middle of the range. So it's a tough call in that sense, right? If you buy this thing right now, it's at $10, I mean, your risk will be lower relative to where the stop should go, again, as a swing trade. So you're basically betting on the probability of the area, the general area, which is this box. So yeah, is it a good idea? As long as this strength can hold up, right? This is basically a double bottom-like formation within a broad consolidation in a larger bullish trend. That all lines up to basically say Is it worth giving it a try for a test of the range high? Well, yeah, probability favors that, okay, based on this structure. So 13 half would be probably reasonable target. You know, anywhere up in here is really where you should be looking to reduce your risk or get out of it if you have some for a swing trade. So again, if you take it right now, I would categorize that as very aggressive because it hasn't closed yet and this candle can still change. The more conservative thing to do would be to wait for the candle close, buy the break of the high, or even more conservative, wait for another candle and see if you can get like an inside bar or a pin bar somewhere in this vicinity over the next few days, okay? That would also be a little more conservative, and it would give a chance to Bitcoin to get its act together. And if Bitcoin turns right around this support level and starts to go higher, that can help boost this thing if, you know, this thing goes back into follower mode. But it is interesting that it's acting relatively strong right now while the rest of the space is weak. Those are things you usually want to keep an eye on. Okay, so thanks for asking about that one. All right, so let me see. I got one more here. Ricky, what levels are you looking at to trim out on your gold stock position? I have positions in Barrick. Okay, good question, Ricky, about gold. So here's what I'm doing with that. I'm looking at gold, the gold spot gold itself, okay? And as you can see, we're on our way to target 3. So I'm looking at, once we start pushing target 3, it's probably a good idea to start taking small profits. But the thing is, this leg, because we are in a seasonal bullish time for gold right now. We're going into one. We're actually not even in it yet. We're getting there. Over the next couple of months is a seasonally bullish time for gold. And plus we have all this inflation stuff going on. Plus we have other things going on where, you know, people run to gold for safety, this and that, blah, 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 right? So when you start pushing these highs and you break 1900, it's probably a good idea to take a little off the table, right? That's my plan with my inventory. Take a little off, like maybe, you know, 5 to 10% of that position or something like that, just a tiny bit just to lock it in. But really, I'm looking for this leg to run to 2000, okay, over the next couple of months. That's where I'm really going to start reducing risk, when it starts pushing 2000. You know why? Because that's when the whole world is going to come out and saying, gold is going to 5,000 and all that other nonsense. And that, hey, anything can happen, but when all those gurus start coming out and they all start touting gold, that's when I want to start distributing my risk for all the people who are afraid to buy it now and who were afraid to buy it at those lows, right? So we were willing to take the risk, and now I want to distribute that risk when people feel safe about gold. Kind of like the way the altcoins look, right? So that's what I'm looking for there. So 2000. So again, we break 1900. That would call for a little profit taking, but I really want to see that move to 2000, or maybe it keeps going. In that situation, you know, again, I'm not going to sell it all at 2000. I'm going to sell a portion, right? And then if I can get a winner running, right, then I'll just let it run until eventually it gives me a reason to sell, right? That's how I'm playing the inventory. But when I get these vertical moves, especially when we start pushing major inflection points, whenever something goes vertical, that's usually a good time to get out of some. Okay, so anyway, good question. All right, let me jump over to the other chat. Again, I appreciate everyone's questions. So we have, from the Bay Area, nice. Okay, Amsterdam, cool. I've never been there, but I hear it's fun. Okay, let's see. Can you turn your mic up? All right, so here's my first mic complaint right there. I'm going to move my mic a little bit. Hold on, I can do something else too. Hold on. I'm going to raise my volume here a bit. If people are having a hard time hearing me, I'm going to raise it. I just, I get a lot of noise on this mic. So I was trying to like adjust that. All right, anyway, so let me get to another question here. Hold on a second. I appreciate everyone's questions again. All right, so let's see here. Okay, cool. Hey, Tushig. All right, greetings from Lithuania. Nice. Oh, this is the guy that likes Mondays because of my broadcast. I still don't like Mondays. If you can please have a look at SAND. Okay, SAND USDT. Let's take a look. SAND USDT. All right, now here's the situation. This is obviously following Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin's red today, and this thing's doing a similar thing. Okay, fine. Now, bigger picture, we have a bullish broader trend, right? Everything pretty much looks like this. We have a potential double bottom developing, right? So this price action, and I'm going to point something out about all this right here, okay? All this price action right there. This goes back to like the February peak. A lot of altcoins, if you'll notice, look similar to this. right? All that hype and all that nonsense on YouTube over here. You're going to be the next millionaire by buying these 3 magical altcoins, blah, blah, blah. And here we are now. Why weren't they calling for this? Why weren't they calling for this? Or these, why weren't they calling for the pullback, right? Because most of them are not traders, for one. They're just hypesters. They're just marketers. Never pay attention to people when it comes to these type of things. If it's a financial market, pay attention to price. I wrote that in my article. Again, price is honest because it's reality. I know no one wants to hear reality. People like to buy dreams and they like to buy hope, right? That's why I'm a horrible marketer, because I don't sell dreams and I don't sell hope. I promote reality and no one wants to hear it. Anyway, my point is this. Before I go on that rant, I could talk about that rant for 3 hours. All right, you have a double bottom developing, which is good. It's a double bottom, a broad double bottom in a trend, right? You have a consolidation here. This large box is a consolidation. So that's a broad consolidation, and you're at the range low and you have that double bottom there. Those are all good bullish variables, okay? Now, what's missing from this thing is the price action. This is not favorable right here. You have a red candle, right? So great location, but you don't want to, this is too early, right? So first of all, can we define our risk from this point? Like, what if you stepped in front of this thing right now? Well, you know, you can look at this low over here. What is that, 33 cents? Something like that. And this thing right now is at 38 cents. So if you stepped in front of this thing aggressively and this thing breaks below 33 cents, that's when you really need to start keeping an eye on it, or maybe taking the small loss or something like that. But I usually don't like to step in front of these things because a lot of the times levels are random. So I want to see confirmation, right? Inside bar would be nice tomorrow. Pin bar would be nice. Or if you don't get either one of those candles, perhaps you take out today's high, which is 41 cents. All right, you do something like that. At least you're getting some sort of buy signal off of an important support level, right? And you can define your risk well from there. So as far as a swing trade goes, that's what I'd be looking for. Now, again, a lot of coins are going to be in a similar situation. If your coin is in a similar situation, I want you to keep something in mind. It's all the same trade. If Bitcoin reverses, we're probably going to see the reversal in all of these things. Don't take them all. Take maybe one or two, whatever your favorite coin is, maybe because one is cheaper than another, whatever it is, but taking them all is just one big Bitcoin trade, right? You don't want to be overexposed like that. These things do not trade on their own, most of them. Some of them do, but most of them don't. So you have to keep that in mind. So good question. All right, let me see what else we got here. Mongolia, wow. You know, it always impresses me the reach of TradingView. You know, how many countries actually use TradingView. It's really amazing to me. Nice, welcome. All right, is it realistic that Bitcoin will cost $1 million? Okay, that's an interesting question. You know what? Based on its low float, I mean, that's the reason why Bitcoin is at ridiculous prices right now. People don't realize it's the low float or low supply of coins that are available. And then there's a limited amount that can be mined, right? There's a specific amount that can be mined, and there can be no more coins after that point, right? So with the dollar weakness that we're seeing, right, if we continue to see inflation and this and that and this and that, then it's possible. I mean, you have to be open to the idea. It's possible that Bitcoin can trade to $1 million, but you're not going to see that anytime soon, okay? It's not like a year from now it's going to be $1 million. Most likely a year from now it'll probably be like 25K, okay, or 30K. It'll be a number that no one's expecting. So that's how you have to look at that. So yeah, sure, it's realistic, but that can take 10 years, all right? Keep something in mind. When Bitcoin touched 20K or close to 20K at the 2017 peak, everyone was calling for 30, 40, 50K. Okay, it went straight to 3K. Well, not straight. It took 2 years, but still, it went to 3K. No one saw that coming, okay? And then at 3K, no one was calling for 60K. No one. Right? You had the stock to flow model, which in May of 2020, the stock to flow model, where you can Google that, was actually calling for Bitcoin at 50K. But they couldn't put a date on it. Well, it took a year, obviously. It took actually less than a year. It took about 6 months for the rally to get going, and took about maybe 8 months for it to reach that level. So if anyone called it, it was that model, all right, which is based on the supply. right? That it's a model that looks at the supply of coins and I guess the rate of consumption or whatever. I don't even know how the model works, but you can Google that. All right, anyway, good question. All right, hey, cool. Very happy to see your stream. Could you analyze XCH and XAG? Okay, let's take a look. XCH USD. All right. Oh, I don't know what this thing is. Well, this is not a good looking chart. Okay. If this is, let me see if there's another chart that I can look at. Let's see. Is there maybe a USDT? Let's take a look. That's slightly better. All right. But I see there's not much history on this thing. So I can't really say much about this. You have this bullish structure right here. I'm going to ignore this. If this is a newer coin, I'm going to ignore that first candle because that first candle is meaningless, right? The market needs to find itself first. You have a higher low over here. That's 869. That's a pretty ridiculous price, all right? And you have a higher low developing now. So here's the thing. I mean, this looks like an aggressive situation. Is this structure bullish? Yes, I have to say you have a higher low. It made this higher high, took out this previous high back here, and it's trying to develop another higher low. The thing is, what is your risk? So at this moment, 1228 is the previous candle low, right? This current candle is open. So the closed candle is 1228. At this moment, that's where your risk is defined. If that's cleared, which is pretty easy for it to do, right? Your next level is at 9, basically. That 9, those are high 8s, you can even say. So that would be the high 8 area would be your more conservative area to be looking for longs if you can get the reversal there. Otherwise, if you wait for an inside bar over here, it's a little bit of a higher risk, okay? But unless you get that bullish candle close, then you can use that, 1228 or 1200 even as your support. I personally prefer to see more price history before getting involved in something like that. But hey, everyone has a different risk tolerance. So you have to figure out what risk you're willing to take. Again, I don't know what this thing's relationship is to Bitcoin just yet because we have Bitcoin pulling back. This thing pulled back a bit, not much, pulled back a bit, relative to this chart here. And we have to see how that goes. So thank you for bringing that one up. General structure is bullish. There was another question here, XAG. Is that silver? I think that's silver. Yes, it is. So silver is just following gold. So if you're not in this, don't chase it, right? Silver, this CFD is a real pain to deal with. CFDs, they often charge you, they often charge you a swap, which is sort of like an interest rate that they charge you for being long. So that's something you have to be mindful of. Yes, you have a breakout in silver, but it's following gold. So of course you're going to have a breakout, right? This thing's not on its own. Now, there's always a talk about a big silver short, and once silver gets going, it's going to be at $50 in like one day. That's all nonsense. Don't go by that stuff, okay? You have to use gold as your gauge. And right now, gold is on its high, so silver is on its high. If you take this breakout right now, what some people like to do, the breakout trade, you're basically at 28.20. Your risk is defined right now at 26.72, all right, or basically 26.50. So if you buy this right now and silver goes there, which is an attractive place to be long, you actually should be taking the loss because, that's where the risk is defined. I know that's hard to understand. You'd be like, but if it's a place to go long, shouldn't I be buying more? Well, you can, but what if this thing breaks? No one thought gold was going to go to 1675 when it was pulling back in February, right? These things can do stuff like that. So that's why you have to focus on risk first. And whenever you define your risk, you must respect it. I have people that occasionally tell me that they forget to put their stop, like on Trade of the Week, and they lose a huge amount of their money, like 60%. That's totally unnecessary if you just respect the stop. We put those stops in those places for very specific reasons, right? So anyway, that's my point here. That's why I don't like, the risk is very high here, right? How much higher is silver going to go? Well, it should go higher as far as, as long as gold keeps going higher. But there's a lot of erratic movement. So I would just wait for another pullback and something like this before getting involved. If you're in silver, hey, let it run. There's no reason to sell this thing right now. Okay, it's a nice bullish candle. If you want to take a little off the table, okay, fine. But, no reason to sell. I don't see a red candle. I don't see a bearish pin bar. I don't see anything. It's just green. So let it do its job, right? Higher low, higher high. Beautiful. Bullish trend. Anyway, thanks for bringing that up. Okay, let me jump over to the other chat. Again, I'm trying to answer as many questions as I can. And I really appreciate everyone's questions and everyone's participation. Okay, so let me go through here. Okay, PRNT. PRNT. Let's take a look. So this is a stock. All right. 3D printing ETF. Okay. So here's the thing, right? The broader trend, no question, bullish, right? Made these highs back here. What was that? Back in February, earlier February. Okay, fine. Since then, it has pulled back and it's been in a consolidation. Okay, that's all good. So this consolidation that I have here inside this box is a broad higher low formation that still is within line of the broader bullish trend. The low of the range is $35, right? It's a little slightly higher, but I like to round it to the whole number. So $35, right? Right around this area here. So now let's look at the current price action. You had some inside bar activity back here, right? And it took that out. So there's actually a buy signal in play on this thing, on PRNT. Now, if you buy this thing now, right, your risk is basically defined at $35. This thing's at $36.40. So you're risking about $1.40, $1.50, right? Now, if this thing can find its way out of the range, well, the question is, what's the reward potential relative to that risk? Well, the range high is 40, right? So if you're buying it at 36, basically, you're looking to make, we'll say a little less than $4. Let's say $3.50, right? $3.50. And you're risking how much again? Let's see, 35. So it's about 2 to 1, right? Your reward risk is about 2 to 1 because you're risking about $1.50 to try to make about $3.50, and the market doesn't even have to move very far. So that makes sense as far as a swing trade goes. The reward risk is favorable. The location is favorable. You have a setup, and it's actually in play. So this one wouldn't be a bad idea for a swing trade. Now, you know, I don't know how well this thing will react to a weaker S&P, but right now, you know, you have all that going for you. So again, sometimes you just step in front of these things, and if it takes out your stop, it takes out your stop. But the reward risk makes sense. If this thing breaks out of the range, then you have yourself a nice little winner there. All right, but we don't even anticipate that much. We'll be happy if it tests the high of the range, which is pretty reasonable for something like this thing to do. All right, so thank you for pointing this one out, Jay. Definitely a good one for the radar, if anything. Shubham, where will gold price will stop? Isn't it making double top? Okay, Shubham, gold, let me just jump back to gold real quick. So gold, there's no double top here on gold, right? So relatively speaking, if you go back, I could see if you're talking about this price action back here and saying, isn't that a double top? Well, okay, yeah, you can argue that there's some resistance in that area. You can argue. But the thing is, in these situations, what carries more weight right now is this structure, okay, which is bullish. So as long as it keeps making higher lows and higher highs, I'm not worried about these resistance levels. If it proves that selling activity steps in, meaning I get the bearish pin bar, then okay, I'll see that they're respecting the resistance. But at this moment, I'm anticipating that we're going to break through, especially with the fundamental catalysts behind this thing, right? And that's really been one of my factors that's really been giving me a lot of confidence to just stay in this thing no matter what. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, I was saying, red bar shows up in gold, I don't care. I'm not doing anything. I don't care because it's noise, right? And that's the reason. It's because I know that this time of year, there's usually more demand for gold. Plus, we know that on the physical side, there's shortages everywhere. So, you know, gold and silver, you can't get any physical gold or silver. It's the premiums are ridiculously high because there's a huge shortage, right? So all that stuff has to catch up to the paper, right? And that's what may be part of this pressure here. So I'm not worried about that until I see specific signs. All right, cool. So thanks for asking about that one. All right, Joe, let me go back to Joe here. I came across, Wyckoff distribution method, and it looks more similar to Bitcoin's recent price action. Okay, so I'm not 100% familiar. I've heard of the Wyckoff distribution method, but I can't really answer that question in detail here because I'd have to see exactly what that method calls for. All right, so it looks near into to 3 months and would imply lower prices. Okay, well, but here's the thing. We're getting lower prices, right, on Bitcoin. And I try not to get all wrapped up in some of these. Like, for example, Elliott Wave has its own rules, and Elliott Wave has its own, tendencies and guidelines and things like that. Do I get all wrapped up with the Elliott wave count here? No. I mean, I use it where it's convenient, and if it lines up, okay, cool. But more importantly, I'm looking at trend and I'm looking at levels, because no matter what oscillator you use, no matter what perspective you use, even if it's market profile, whatever it is, the levels and the trend have some kind of relationship. And if I see that relationship changing, then I adjust, right? So that's how I would go by that. Bitcoin might go lower, right? But the thing is, we are at attractive levels. Even with this lower high here, we are at attractive levels. You're going to have people arguing we have a head and shoulders. You're going to have people saying Bitcoin's going to 20K because it's bearish and blah, 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 blah. You're going to have all that. But what I see here are support levels in something that is still generally bullish, and we're just at an extreme range low. That's what I see. So until that changes, I'm still... these are the levels where I get interested and I get excited. People say, "Oh, you're so negative. You're so negative at 60K. Shouldn't you be positive like everyone else?" No, I'm not negative. I'm realistic. I don't buy highs, right? That's why I'm usually bearish or pessimistic at such levels. Okay, now I'm optimistic. Now I'm interested and much more excited about it, because this is where probability is favorable, even though price action is not agreeing right now, okay? So I just wait for that. Like I put in my article, waiting is really not a hard thing to do, right? You just do nothing. But a lot of people seem to have a hard time doing that. All right, it's cool. So thanks, that's a good question. Let me jump back to the other chat here. Okay, so BTC seems to be bouncing off 42K. Think we found the bottom? No, not yet. Like I just said, I think we're in a very attractive area, but we can't call this a bottom, not yet. Price needs to confirm. There's nothing here, right? That's not confirmation. Price, it's possible to keep going. That's why I have no opinions. I always try to keep an open mind, even though I'm more optimistic at these levels. That doesn't mean I'm acting on that. It just means that, hey, here's where I'm interested. Here's where I'm interested in taking risk, but the market needs to align. If the market can't align, I do nothing, right? And I have no opinion. If Bitcoin wants to go to 20K, hey, that's its business. If Bitcoin wants to reverse and go back to 60K, hey, that's its business, right? And it'll give me clues, and then I just have to manage risk along the way. That's it. That's the best I can do, right? Unless I'm an insider, which I'm not. Okay, so good question. All right, let me jump across here. Mr. Blue from Paris. Nice, Paris. Cool. Do you think there's some sort of Wyckoff configuration? All right, so I just had another question on the other chat about that. And, again, people keep bringing up this Wyckoff situation. I'm going to have to just research that further because, again, I don't follow it. I guess the Wyckoff distribution is talking about the lower highs. Perhaps it's talking about the head and shoulders, right? Which, again, people are going to be focused on. But you need to focus on the bigger picture, right? When in doubt, zoom out, they say. So this is bullish still. This is not bearish yet. Now, if we take out 40K, that will be a change for me, all right? That will mean I will go from more bullish to more neutral, meaning, okay, we could be in the broad wave 4. Now, again, people that aren't familiar with Elliott wave, I'm going to show you, and I bring this up all the time. This is a broad wave 4. I bring up gold, right? Now, let me erase all this bullish stuff on gold, and let's talk about when gold looked really ugly and gold was faking everyone out. Now, let me show you something here, okay? And I've showed this before. This over here is the August peak on gold, all right? No one was calling for gold going to 1675 at the August peak, but that's where it went over the next 6 months. All this price action in between is a broad wave 4. It's full of false starts, it's full of fake outs, it's very hard to trade, and it really makes a fool of a lot of people who claim to be experts, right? Because they oh, it's a long, oh, it's a short, oh, it's a long, oh, it's a short. And it's really, you have to look at the bigger picture, which is what we were doing the entire time. And if I zoom out on the bigger picture of gold, does that bigger picture look bearish to you? I hope you say no, it looks bullish because it's bullish. Those were extreme prices at 1675, and at 40K or even maybe 35K, Bitcoin will be in a similar situation, okay? So that's why I get bullish around these levels, and that's why at that time, and plenty of people in the chat can tell you, I was bullish gold, I was bullish gold, I was bullish gold. We were telling our people, buy gold miners, even when gold was looking ugly. Now you see why, okay? Anyway, So good question. Now, could you talk about algo? Algo is, you mean algo, is algo a coin? Let's see. Okay, probably that's what you mean. So I'm gonna, just let me know in the chat if I'm wrong about that. But I'm gonna take a look at algo, the coin. All right, before I, all right, so let me do that. So algo, let me just go back to the chat here so I don't lose my spot. Okay, 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 hold on here. Okay, so here's the thing. Algo is range bound, right? Broader picture bullish. How much is this thing? $1.32. Okay. Broader picture's bullish, right? Made that February peak. Got everyone long. Now, since then, you have this range bound situation. Okay, fine. No problem. That could be a broad wave 2. It could be a broad wave 4. The range low is 95 cents, or you could basically round that to $1. At these current prices, this is a lousy place to be buying this thing because you're basically in the middle of the range. Okay, the middle of the range is the worst place. And I was talking about this about Bitcoin for the longest time, right? The prices between 53K and 59K. If you read my TradingView articles, and everyone on TradingView should be familiar with my articles, right? Over the previous few weeks, what was I saying? No advantage to trading in this range. No advantage to trading in this range because it could have gone either way equally. I'm not interested in 50-50. I don't play slot machines, okay? Slot machines are actually worse than 50-50, but you understand my point, right? So this situation, 50-50, nothing to do here. Wait for the range low. That's your best bet with something like this. And I would expect that if this thing is pushing its range low, Bitcoin is probably looking ugly too. And same with Ethereum. They're probably looking ugly at that point, because the whole space obviously moves together. These things don't really trade on their own, okay? Most of them. Occasionally you find one that does, that's typically on some news, right? Some hype or something. Okay. Okay. So yeah, okay. NASDAQ, Bitcoin, same everywhere. Right, well, you know, there's probably going to be more of a relationship with Bitcoin and the stock market as we continue. The reason why is because, you know, we have all these Bitcoin futures products now that they just started, like the micro contracts just a couple of weeks ago. And what that does is that introduces more market making firms. And when they start getting involved with all of their stuff, they basically, things start to get more and more tied together, right? Just like the NASDAQ and the S&P, they pretty much move together, right? They don't really deviate much. Right? Same with all the market indices. They move together. Right? There's reasons for that. Right? There's arbitrage reasons for that, why they have to stay together like that. And Bitcoin is probably going to start acting more like them. Okay? And react to them as well. So I'm quiet today, Todd says. I'm quiet. I hope people can hear me. Let me take a look at my sound. I thought, oh, I know that was from a while ago. Let me just check my sound level here. I mean, okay. My level looks good. All right. Again, let me know if my sound is still lousy. I tried raising it earlier. Okay. Let me go back here. All right. So let me see what else I got. Going back to my questions. So I have here. Okay. Anything is possible. It probably is what. So anything is possible. It is probable. It is what you want to ask. Okay. I'm not sure what you mean there. Oh, okay. That was the million. That was the billion. The million. Bitcoin at $1 million. Okay. South Africa. Nice. Cape Town. Hey, good to see you. Thanks for joining. BNB. Okay. Let's take a look at Binance Coin. BNB USD. Let's take a look. What do we got? So again, you know, Binance Coin. I'm not surprised to see this. You know, it's going to follow the whole space. Now, this chart is nice and bullish generally, right? This structure, keep in mind, this structure carries a lot of weight, right? That's bullish. That means buying activity is likely to step in right around there. And we can see the tail today, right? We see that tail developing. Why here? Because that's a previous support level, okay? And you have buying activity trying to step in front of this. Now, that's cool, right? You may have the higher low. The problem is the whole space is starting to see weakness. These things, I would hesitate to think that Binance Coin is going to trade on its own. I know it can, but I'd prefer to wait, right? Plus, there's no price action here that says buy this thing right now. That's a red candle, right? Yes, the support is good, but like I said before, levels alone are not enough. So you need to see confirmation, right? You need to see an inside bar, you need to see a pin bar, you need to see this high get taken out, which is 564. That would be a good start. But just, I want you to keep something in mind. You could have made that argument back here, right? There's an inside bar right here. See this green candle? I'm going to highlight that green candle, right? So you can see that. You see that right there? Okay. You could have argued, oh, inside bar, right? If in this candle, which I don't think it took out the high here, but if it had taken out that high, you could argue that that was a buy signal, right? And then you could say, oh, my risk is over here at 527, and you would have gotten stopped out. So keep in mind, there's no perfection to this. You're taking a risk, and either the market is going to take your money or you're going to make something, right? And that's all we can do, especially when it comes to swing trades. So as far as a swing trade right now, I would stay away from this thing until it could provide some sort of stability. And I would be expecting Bitcoin and Ethereum to be doing something similar. Don't forget to use your leaders as a gauge, okay? Turk, not sure, is that a coin or something? I'm not sure what Turk is. Maybe you could elaborate on that. Okay, could you take a look at XRP? Okay, from swing low, from swing low, $1.18 looked fairly strong to me, which is why I'm eyeballing it. My opinion hasn't. Okay, especially all right. XRP. Let's take a look. Right, a very popular coin, Ripple. So this is interesting, right? And the reason is it's acting relatively strong, similar to Theta. So you have this bullish structure. Okay, fine. We've heard that about 1,000,000 times. Then we have this little consolidation going on right here. That's a higher low. I'm surprised to see that out of XRP because this coin has been garbage for so long, right? So you have this higher low established at $1.20, and you have this bullish candle developing now. It's acting relatively strong. So similar to Theta, if you want to take a swing trade risk on something like this, your risk is defined by $1.20. If this thing breaks below $1.20, you must take your loss. You must respect that stop because that thing should not do that. It has no business doing that if it's going to be strong. That's how you judge all these things, okay? It's, you do this, if the market does this, okay, the market should do certain things when there's momentum. If it doesn't do those things and it does the opposite, then your idea is no longer good, right? The market doesn't agree with it, and that's when you have to make a change. But instead, people go into hope mode. And hope mode does not pay the bills, all right? So, yeah, I would agree with you as far as the relative strength. Your risk, now, if you buy this thing right now, it's at $1.53. So you're taking a little bit more risk. You have to hope that the breakout follows through at $1.65, right? That would be another place to consider it, taking the breakout, which is not my favorite type of trade. And then you have to hope it can run up to, basically $2. Now, structurally, I say hope, but structurally, it's within reason to deliver that type of price action over the next few days. Now, again, you're probably going to need Bitcoin to agree with you. If Bitcoin breaks and does something that people don't expect, this thing can be affected in an adverse way. So just something to keep in mind there, right? But this is acting relatively strong. So this would be a good one to try to take advantage of a Bitcoin bounce. If Bitcoin starts to bounce, this thing may be ahead of it, right? That's called relative strength. So that makes sense. All right, so thanks for bringing that one. And you said you're in from 118. So that's great. That's a great price to be in from, all right? And at this point, let it do its job. That's a great price. So thanks for bringing that one up. Okay, jump to the other chat here. Let me see what else I got. I'm sorry if I'm behind. I'm going to try to get to as many questions as I can. When I simulcast, I usually get way too many questions, and that's okay. I just can't answer them all. Okay, so IFC, NS, he's asking for SNX USD. Let's take a look. So this thing is on Coinbase. Look at this consolidation. All right, very similar situation to like XRP. I like the outside bar, right? So you have the broad consolidation, broad higher low, all right? So that's good, right? Where there's a higher low often should lead to a higher high. You need this thing to break out. This is your resistance level right here, which is around 23.15. You can round that to like maybe 23.25. If you take this thing now, you're in the middle of this range. It's a risky area. It's 50-50, but you do have the outside bar and the relative strength, which is, that's a somewhat unique situation relative to Bitcoin right now. Not your best price, though. I mean, your better price would be around $16, right around the range low, but it may not deliver that, right? So You have to decide if you're willing to take that risk, but you have to give this thing room to about 1550 or something. And at that point, that's when you can determine that you're wrong if you get involved in this thing. If you buy this thing right now, you need this thing to break out and it needs to go much further to justify your risk. And what is the risk again? So let's see, if you're buying this thing at 2072, you're risking about $4, $4.50. You need to make at least $4.50 to justify that. What's the high over here? 29. So if you're, okay, so you need this thing to run, you know, about what, 24-ish, something like that, to justify your risk. All right, you can get 1-to-1, so it's not horrible. Okay, it's not horrible. It's within reason. You don't need this thing to make new all-time highs for you to at least get to 1-to-1. So that, I like that. Okay, so I would. That's how I would look at that. Oh, Crypto Donkey, thank you so much. You gave me 500 coins. Thank you so much. You don't have to do that. I appreciate that though. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, so that's how I would treat SNX. Keep in mind, like I say, risk first. Okay, so if you don't like that risk, I wouldn't risk $4 on this thing. Then don't take the trade, whether the trade goes your way or not. That's what the market is saying the risk is. Okay, ETH. See, I didn't go over ETH earlier because I figured someone would ask me, and there'd be no point in me going over it. You know, so let's take a look at Ethereum. Here's my Ethereum chart with all my levels on it. This is why, again, you know, people are like, oh, Ethereum is going to 4,000. Ethereum's going to be at 5,000 by next week. This is why I don't go near these things, because you don't know where the peak is going to come in, okay? You don't know. And when it looks its best, and look, we could argue that it looked its best over here, right? And it looked its best again over here, and it just kept going higher and higher. The higher it goes, the greater the risk you take, right? So once it starts getting out of my range, I might let it go, right? I want nothing to do with it, because I know that by the time I feel good about getting into this thing, it's probably going to be the top, okay? I'm not immune to that either. I just know better, and I minimize myself from the equation. If it breaks certain rules or whatever, it's not within my rules, not interested. I don't care what it does. I don't care what anyone's saying about it, okay? So here's the thing. Ethereum pulling back, right? Just like Bitcoin. What's the low? 3,100. People probably weren't seeing that one coming, okay? The thing is, that's one support. If you watched, I think it was a video that I streamed a week ago on here, I talked about this as a potential support level because of this little price action situation back here. Okay, that little red candle situation back there. And as you can see, buying activity is reacting to that. Okay, that's cool, but it's still too early to take risk on this thing. Is this a pin bar? Well, you have a long tail, but the open to the close is still a little too large, right? I like to be much smaller to fit, you know, Steve Neeson's definition, which is usually what's called a hammer, right? That's a type of pin bar. So this is really not there yet. But the thing is, you have a location. So if the next couple of days, because again, we're trying to gain clues for the next couple of days, if you get the inside bar or something like that and you get some kind of stability, maybe a mini double bottom in this area, right? You're defining your risk from 3,100. But if Bitcoin breaks, right, where's the next support on this thing? It's here. And that's what, 2,500. Can it go there? It's possible. Now, some people say, well, I'd love to buy it at 2,500, right? Except if you get a large red candle, right, and it looks like this going right through it, it's not a good idea to step in front of that. Now, keep in mind, I talk about this from a swing trade perspective. So swing trade is very short-term oriented. It's got specific stops, specific targets, all that stuff. As an investor, it's a little different. As an investor, a $2,500 level, it's an attractive level. I would step in front of that, but with small size, okay? So if I had a target allocation, I use this example all the time. Let's just say I want to invest $1,000 into Ethereum. And, you know, Ethereum starts pushing 2,500. Hey, great time to buy 50 bucks worth, right? I still have $950 to go. I'm not going to put it all in at one price. I may have to buy more Ethereum at higher prices. I don't care. I'm only interested in an average price when I'm talking about inventory. It's a completely different mindset, okay? Anyway, so just something to point out there. Those are the levels I'd be looking for on Ethereum. Keep in mind, as great as this thing is and all their hype and all their nonsense and they're changing the world and they're going to send people to Mars. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm confusing that with Elon Musk. all this great stuff, it's still not the leader, right? Bitcoin pulled back, this thing's pulling back. So watch Bitcoin. Okay, so thanks for asking about that one. Let me see. Uniswap. Same situation, right? Did Uniswap reach all three targets? Let's see, 43. Yeah, I called this swing trade way back when this thing was at 25.50. This was like a call back in February. Okay, I believe it was around, it might have been around here somewhere. Let me see, what are the highs here? Yeah, it was around, actually it was in, yeah, just early, yeah, going into early March. It was around there. It took all that time and all that noise for this thing to reach three targets. That's a swing trade. These things are slow, by the way, because stocks, we've had stocks reach their targets in a week or two, right, which is nice. That's ideal. But this sucks. I mean, waiting 3 months, okay, great. Look, it reaches targets. I can't complain about that. But it takes a lot of patience, and you got to sit through a lot of noise and a lot of drama and a lot of talk, and that's why I don't pay any attention to that stuff. Anyway, so as far as Uniswap goes, you are at a support now, okay? Old resistance, new support. Same situation as many coins, right? This is not a pin bar just yet, although you have the long tail. So attractive location, no candles, no, there's no price action confirmation here. So I would wait on this. Like I said before, when you get these buy signals around these locations, Bitcoin will most likely be doing a similar thing. It's all the same trade. So don't take them all. Pick one or two that you like, or whatever fits your risk profile or whatever, and that's it, okay? Sounds a bit, okay, so going back to the, all right, so people are complaining about my microphone. Hopefully I fixed that. I know that was a while ago. All right, it's Gabriel, can we see Litecoin? Yes. All right, and then I'm gonna jump back to the other chat. So here's Litecoin, same situation, right? Pulled back, making people uncomfortable because everyone thought Litecoin was gonna go to whatever, $500, right? All nonsense. Don't buy highs. Don't buy highs because you're exposing yourself to this potential. That's all I care about. So here we are, same situation. Are these attractive levels for longs? Yes, across the board, right? It's a pullback. It's not the high. I just said don't buy the high. Okay, this is not the high. So these are levels where we should be interested in for longs, all right? And now, again, no price action confirmation here. So have to wait. And I would like to see, especially from Litecoin, I'd have to see Bitcoin doing a similar thing, meaning the inside bar, you know, or something. Now, if this candle closes just like this, and this goes for all of your altcoins or whatever, if it closes just like that, and it takes out this high, 296 tomorrow, that would also qualify as a buy signal, okay? And your risk will be defined by the long tail, 261. So you figure 260, 255, right? That's where your risk will be defined from. That would be your high or low. And then you need this thing to do its job. Now, is it reasonable to expect higher highs? It may not on this next leg. That's why you should be going for 1-to-1 reward risk, right? Which is within reason from such levels. All you need is like halfway point in the middle of the range. Great place to get out of your coin, right? Or out of your trade. Not into, but out of, right? So that should deliver 1-to-1. After that, you don't have to get rid of your whole position. You see if it's got any legs for running, okay? If it starts to run, great. You're a strong hand. You let it do its job. If it can't run, hey, at least you know you have the option of getting out, taking whatever profit you have left, or whatever you have to do with it, or maybe even give it a chance to break even before you get out. Whatever, that's up to you, that part. But you should at least be going for 1-to-1. That's still proportionally realistic. Okay, let me jump over. Oh, wait, here on. He had BCH. I'm trying to, you know, I'm speaking quickly because I think that that's going to shorten my stream, but obviously not, right? See, human nature. It's a liability. All right. BCH, same situation. Pulling into old resistance, okay, new support, same type of price action. So same story as Litecoin. Wait for the confirmations, and it's all the same trade. All right, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on BCH, but that's the idea. Same reward risk, 1-to-1 would be around here somewhere, okay? Assuming this candle turns into a buy signal. We have to wait for the close, and then if it doesn't take out that candle high, perhaps it makes a new candle that will give us a buy signal. But again, the signal is probably going to be visible across the board. All right, let me see what else we got. Other chat. So, think your microphone volume. Oh, Brazil, nice. trading wiki from Brazil. I adjusted my mic. I hope it's better now. Okay, XRP. Nope, it's not going to the moon. Definitely not. All right. Okay, so Ali, I went over Bitcoin first, very early in the stream. Once I complete the stream, you can go back and you can watch it. Okay, Matic and XLM. Let's take a look. Matic. I haven't looked at that one in a while. Matic. How's this thing doing? Oh, wow. Okay, so this is a nice example of a coin doing its own thing. I'm surprised. All right, you know these garbage coins. So here's the thing. I mean, why did I call it a garbage coin? Because what does Matic even do? What do they like do automation stuff? I don't even know what they do. But most of these coins are junk, and most of them they move like this, as we know from February. Most of them move on hype. So this is still an interesting chart. All the hype and all my political opinions aside, this is a interesting chart because everything pulled back and this thing is on its highs. So this one's a good one for the radar. You can't buy this here. I just showed you Ethereum, right, from 41K or whatever. I mean, sorry, 4,100, whatever that high was, 4,300. And we know it's likely to come next, right, the pullback. So you can't buy this now. If you're in it, this is a great place to be reducing your risk, distributing risk, right, and taking profits. Look at the long tail from the other day. And now you have these inside bars. So I would not be buying it now. You need to wait for supports, and your first support on something like this is going to be around this level right here. That's your first support. And that is around $1.18. After that, you're looking at 95 cents, around that area, all right? So those are your areas of interest on Matic. Of course, you would need the price action to confirm for you there. But what's interesting about this is how it's just completely ignoring the Bitcoin pullback. That's interesting, but I suspect that there's some kind of news or hype that's keeping this thing afloat while everything else is red. All right, so great one for the radar though. For whatever reason, you know, I don't have, even though I don't like most of these coins, an opportunity is an opportunity, right? So if something lines up technically, I mean, really that's all I'm interested in, no matter what I think of the coin from a fundamental perspective, right? We're just looking for momentum. That's really, whether it's a stock, whether it's gold, whether it's whatever it is, really that's all I'm looking for. Momentum and keeping my risk within reason. Okay, so that's Matic. XLM, Stellar Lumens. And how's this one been doing? Let's see. Okay, so this one has been surprisingly strong recently. Broader bullish trend, higher lows, higher highs. Recent price action, though, is problematic. Okay, see this box that I just drew on here? That's a failed high area. Okay, it's not exact, but that's basically the failed high area, and it failed a couple of times there. So I would not be touching this thing now. If you bought the breakout and it turns into something like this, that's usually a good time to take your small loss because you're taking a lot of risk at that point. This thing can pull all the way back. I mean, that would be the maximum. It could go lower, but that would be a good place to look for buying activity. 41 cents, right? That's a lot of risk from these levels. Then you're looking at the middle. Right? The middle of the range is usually the more reasonable place, and that's 55 cents. So when you have an attempted breakout and it fails, I do like to look at the middle as a possible, buying area, but I like to see that failed breakout in place. So we have that, if that middle is cleared, then you're looking at the range low. Those are your levels of interest. Those are your high probability areas for this type of situation. Right now, this thing is not in a good location, just like Bitcoin at 65K, right? It's a very similar idea. So while the general structure is strong, I don't like the location, all right? So it's out of the scope of the rules. So thank you for asking about that. Okay, other chat. All right, so Gabriel, I went over Litecoin, I went over BCH. All right, I have another question here about Theta. Let me see, I'm still on Theta, by the way. Oh, nice. Oh, thanks. Yeah, my ebook. Okay, yeah, I can't say much about that right now, but I appreciate you buying it. Thank you. Okay, Romania, please have a look at a 15-minute or hourly chart of Bitcoin. Well, no, so here's the thing about that. That's a good question, but for the rules that I follow, right, they're for swing trades. I don't look at 1 hour or 15-minute especially, or 5-minute, or anything small time frame. The levels on there are completely irrelevant for swing trades. They're just noise. Now, if it's a day trade, it's a different story. But I don't want to confuse people. So I'm not talking about day trades here. So yeah. So I mean, if you're looking for a day trade, you're on your own with that one, because again, this is for swing trades, and those levels are completely irrelevant for that time frame. So thank you. Okay, so I'm getting some more complaints about my microphone. Shubham says sound is low. Okay, hopefully I fixed that. So now XX is asking about the risk. Well, so back, Bitcoin. Look, so I'm going to show you real quick. 15-minute time frame. The risk on something like this, I'm going to tell you right now, is this low right here. Okay, which is 42,100, which it can easily take out. All right, this is a horrible place to be buying this thing, especially if you have swing trade expectations. So it's very random, and you can't go by that, right? All I'm looking at on the bigger picture is this red candle, and we have to see how that closes. The next candle can turn into a bearish inside bar, and it just wipes you out. Unless you're looking for like 100 points or something like that, a real quick bite. That would be a day trade. All right. So thanks for asking about that. NKLA, a stock. Let's take a look. So Nicola's been sneaking up quietly. Look at this, right? The electric vehicle stock, and this one has been one of the worst ones, right? Because they haven't had great news, and that's why you get these pullbacks, and then they just become hated, right? That's like a hated stock right there. The bigger picture, it corrected most of its bullish movement, which is not a good sign when it corrects the whole thing. All right. Usually you want to see it go halfway and then turn, right, to 50%, maybe slightly more. But when it does the whole thing, you have to wonder, right? And these things, the fundamentals aren't that great. I don't trade these things on fundamentals, but I just have to point that out. Now, the recent price action, you have a higher low right here. And I saw this recently, right, around that $10 area. And I was thinking about mentioning it. But with the apparent weakness in the stock market, it's like, man, all these stocks have been generally weak. This whole sector has been weak. So if we get a really broad pullback in the stock market, which we still don't have yet, okay, the NASDAQ and S&P are still, they haven't gotten beaten up hard yet. They just a little slap on the wrist, right? A little slap on the hand is all they got. That's not like a serious pullback yet. And these things are still fooling around near these lows. So I wouldn't take a chance with these right now. Okay, even with a swing trade, I just wouldn't, because I don't like the position of the stock market. Like I said, if that stock market really breaks, these things are generally relatively weak, and I would expecting those lows to be taken out. Especially right now, you're just above this little higher, this lower high right here. You're just above it, which can suck people in for a breakout trade. But you have to look at that market context, the broad market context. Okay. A few more minutes, I'm going to wrap this up. Let me see what other questions I can answer here. I know I spend way too long on some of these questions. Switzerland, nice. Oh, cool. Oh, I'm glad you read my article on TradingView. Okay, very cool. KRBN. Okay, let me take a look. KRBN. Let's see. Oh, that's an interesting stock. What is this? Carbon ETF. Crane Shares Global Carbon ETF. All right, I'm not familiar with this one, but that's if that's the right symbol, KRBN, that's certainly a bullish chart. Can't chase this though. This may have something to do with the dollar situation, because dollar has been going lower, right? That's why we've been seeing gold go higher. Can't touch this here. So if you want to look at support and resistance, your first support is right here. And that's around $30 or 29.5, around there. So there's a lot of risk between here and there. I would just leave it alone, but definitely a good one for the radar. So thank you for asking about that one. Can't hear anything. We can't hear anything? I hope my mic has been on. Okay, yeah, okay, cool. So some people might be their connection, but I have tried to adjust my microphone. All right, let me just go back. Let me go back. Okay, so I went over, Todd, 48.5 looks like a bit out of reach right now, though not impossible. 48.5. Well, I wouldn't right now, Todd. It is out of reach as far as swing trades go. I would hold off, because the current candle, we're going to get a new price once the candle finds its support and its stability. We're most likely going to get a new price. So that 48.5 that I put on the article will probably be irrelevant to the new price that comes out. Again, we always have to adjust. And that price yesterday I actually meant 49.5, okay, but I wrote 48.5 by mistake. I should probably put that on the article, but anyway, I guess I'm too lazy to do that. All right. Shervin, hey, good to see you. XNT. Shervin, ETH. I went over ETH. Okay, cool. So you just go back on the stream. Let me go back to the other chat. Hey, can you increase your microphone sensitivity a bit? It would help us hear you better. Okay, I think I've done that. That was an hour ago. Okay. XRP, Theta, Sol. All right, so I went over XRP, I went over Theta, and some others looked strong against Bitcoin, which is something that could be a hint. Yes, well, I agree. The relative strength is there for now. Keep in mind, just because it's there for now doesn't mean that it will stay that way. That's where, so if you want to take a trade, if you want to take a risk, right, on that relative strength, as long as you know where your risk is defined, if that relationship changes and then they just become weak, right, they were strong one moment and then they become weak, you get out, you take your loss. Okay, so just something to keep in mind. That relationship is not like an absolute, all right? That's very important to understand. People always think, oh yeah, it's relatively strong, and then it just turns, and you're like, oh, but it's relatively strong. It'll come back, and then it doesn't come back. So always keep an eye on your risk. Oh, Simpapipo, thank you so much, 350 coins. Hey, no problem. I appreciate that. You don't have to send me the coins. Thank you very much, though. I really, really appreciate that. Okay, so I saw Michelle's name. I have to answer Michelle's question. Michelle. Okay, so let's see what she's asking. Audio and SNX. Michelle from Italy. All right, let's take a look. Okay, I'm going to put that symbol in. USDT, is it? Okay, let's take a look. All right, how much is this thing? $2.16. All right, so this is another one that's acting relatively strong. All right, at the moment, because we have this outside bar developing there. Like I said, that can change, but right now that is a clue that we can't argue with the market. The market is saying there's some strength. Okay, fine, no problem. This low is your range low. You have a broad consolidation here in a generally bullish trend. So that is a buy signal, believe it or not. Let's take a look. It took out yesterday. Look at that pin bar. This is a nice example of a pin bar. Take a look at that. The pin bar, this pin bar over here. Look at this pin bar right off that support. This is ideal. This is what you want to see. The market doesn't always give you this beautiful little pin bar like that, but that's a really nice setup. Now, it took out the high of the pin bar, which is $1.92. So you have a buy signal in play here. The thing is, if you're buying this now at 216, your risk is a lot higher than it probably has to be. Your risk is defined at $1.61. So you figure $1.50, right? It's a good idea to usually round it. Can you make at least $1.50 if this thing runs to its range high, which is 263? Barely, right? No, not even. You're at 216 right now, and the high over here is it's 286. I'm sorry, 309. All right, so you're still making what, like less than $1? So your reward risk at that point doesn't make sense, right? The market needs to run to the range high. So that's because you're in the middle here, right? So this is not the best price. You probably shouldn't chase this thing, right? You're near that middle. You're probably better off waiting to see if you get another test of low, but again, that's up to you. I know Michelle might be a little more aggressive. So if you want to take that chance, perhaps you get the breakout, but I don't like to be, overly optimistic, right, on these things. So I like to be realistic, and what is realistic is testing the range high and possibly failing again, right, and staying inside that range, especially since Bitcoin might be in a broad wave 4. So if that's the case, again, it's still too early to judge that, but if that's the case, we're going to see a lot of buy signals that don't really follow through. They may be profitable to some extent, but we're not going to see this run that we saw back here, right? We're not going to see this again, probably not for a while. Right? If Bitcoin goes into a wave 4, we're not going to see that. I know I ruin the party for everyone, but that's just being realistic. I could be wrong, but wave 4s are usually consolidations. They don't continue the trend. The broad wave 5, at some point, you can see the vertical moves again. Okay, so that was that one. Now, SNXU, I think I might have went over that one earlier. Let me see. Yes, I went over this one earlier, Michelle, if you just go back in the stream, because I see all the annotations on here. So just go back, so I don't have to re-explain that one. So thanks for asking about that one. Okay. Oh, he's from Italy too. Hey, maybe you two can meet each other. All right. All right, let me see what I have here. Is that XLM? Let me just go. Oh, no, XMR. Oh, okay. Hold on a second. Let me just fix something here. So that was XMR. I'm going to run through that, and then I'm going to, after that, I'll probably wrap this up because I'm getting tight on time here. Okay, just give me a second here. All right, just 1 second. Sorry about that. So that was, okay, XMR. XMR USD. All right, so Monero. We had a swing trade in Monero, right? At some point. I may have gone to 2 of its targets. You know, that wasn't mine, so I don't know the exact levels. But here's the thing. It's pulling back, and there's no reason to buy this thing right now. Are you at better levels? Yes, right? You may have some support in this area here. Price is not reacting to it yet. So you probably, this would be your next support here, which is 261. This thing right now is at 349. So it's got plenty of room to mess around. I wouldn't do anything with this right now. Like I said, many of these coins are at attractive levels, but you need to wait for confirmation, and you really should wait for leadership from Bitcoin, okay, before taking that risk. And also, don't take them all, like I said. All right, Visionary, hey, thanks so much. I'm not sure if you've done gold. Yeah, gold. I've done gold much earlier. Once I finished the stream, you can go back. It was one of the first ones. Like in the first 15 minutes or first 20 minutes, I covered gold. So thanks for asking about that. Please do NUGT stock. Okay, cool. I'll get to that before I wrap this up. Thank you again for the coins. I really appreciate that. All right, so we're at 120. Let me just do. I'll do a few more minutes. Let me just see what else I have here. Again, I apologize if I couldn't get to your questions. I just have so many. Okay, so Ampy. Yeah, I'm not going to do Ampy. I apologize. Yes, you'd say it quite a few times. Okay. Yeah, I'm just running through this thing. Todd, it's you, man, not trying to give yourself. You deserve. Oh, I appreciate that. It's so generous of you. No, I appreciate that. Well, you know, I try. I try to help. You know, I was in your situation once where, you know, there was really not much guidance, especially years ago when YouTube didn't have the stuff that it has, and there was no trading view and all that other stuff, and you didn't know who you could trust. There was no way you can look up reputations of people, and you know, so you were pretty much stuck with trial and error, especially if you were cheap like me and didn't want to spend on you know, getting training, whatever. So anyway, so I try to at least provide some insight and perspective, and to really point your attention to information that truly is actionable, or information that actually has value, compared to just looking at some random oscillator and thinking that it has value. Okay, so let me just do a couple more things here. Portland, nice. Okay, that's almost like another country. Okay, Saudi Arabia, cool, very nice. Germany, all right. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. Well, we've got quite a few people from the West Coast here. We've got Holland again. All right, so I'm going to run through Visionary's thing. Let's see, what time is it? All right, so Visionary, I'm going to do yours real quick, and then I'm going to wrap this up. All right, so let me see. That was NUGT. All right, Visionary comes to like all my streams, and the guy gives me coins like every time. Now, I'm not saying you have to give me coins. You know, that's not necessary. But, you know, I appreciate the generosity and the feedback. So NUGT. So this is going to be similar to all the gold mining stocks, right? It's obviously the gold miners index. So as we saw, wheat and precious metals, I talked about that earlier, and you know, all those other ones. I mean, look at this thing. It looks just like gold. Okay, it's got the higher high, higher low. There's nothing to do here. If you're not in this, you can't chase it now. The risk is too high. If you're in it, you just let it run. All right, because there's no reason to sell this thing. Like I said before, gold is in a seasonally bullish time. So just let this market do its job, right? If you're in it. If you're not in it, now is not a good time. Because why? This thing, as we know, gold can start fooling around. Some news comes out. Suddenly, they're going to raise interest rates again. You just never know, right? That nonsense just comes out. Next thing you know, gold pulls back 50 points, okay? Even though it should be going higher, and it shakes everyone out. That's the risk you're taking by buying this thing now. So if you're not in it, stay away from it. If you're in it, let it ride. That's how I'd put that. Okay. All right, I'm going to do one more question because I have so many. I just feel bad because I don't answer them all. Let me just see what I have here. Let me just see. I'm just going through this chat. Okay. ETH hitting Andrew's spot buy. ETH, again, like I said, for a swing trade, it's too early. For inventory, if you want to take a small bite, okay. The scammer, would you mind explaining how you draw those areas and levels? It's just support and resistance levels. Okay, I'm just looking at previous support or previous resistance levels becoming new support and that kind of thing. How similar the pattern is for Bitcoin. Oh, okay, Joe. So Joe, if you're talking about the Wyckoff thing, so it's possible, right? That's a common pattern, but just don't get married to it. Is all I'm saying, right? It's not bad to use things like that. I mean, I know there's some. It's a valid perspective, but try to keep it simple. Okay, XMR I went over. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. Let me just jump over to this chat. I went over ETH. Okay, ADA and DOT. All right, I went over XRP. So I'm going to do ADA and DOT because those are pretty popular. And then I'm going to wrap it up. I promise you I'm going to wrap it up because I know I talk too much and I like to talk and all that stuff. Okay, here we go. So Cardano. Cardano is a super hype coin. And this is why I tell people don't chase these things into the highs. Don't chase. Don't chase. Gmail, I know we don't have to send you coins, but you don't have to do these sessions. Oh, I appreciate that, Gmail. Thank you. I really appreciate that. You don't have to send me coins. Thank you. Thank you. But again, I do this to try to, benefit the community and just give you that insight that seems to be so lacking these days, especially when you go on some of these other platforms and the nonsense on there is just mind-boggling. Anyway, all right, so ADA, right? This is why I tell you not to chase highs. This candle is not supportive at all. Nothing to do here. If you're in it, hopefully you've locked in profit because that's what you do when this thing goes vertical like that. Otherwise, there's support right around here. $1.80, right? That area right there, $1.80 area. If $1.80 is taken out, you're looking at $1.50. If $1.50 is taken out, you're looking at $1, right? That's Cardano. So keep in mind, again, it's a super hype coin. When the party is over in these things, I know Cardano is going to do this and they're going to do that and they have this long list of all these things they're going to do. Okay, great. But when the party's over and these things go out of favor, these things are all going to get hammered. I don't care how good they are, right? So just something to keep in mind. Risk first. So if you're in it, lock in something and then see where the rest of it goes. If you're not in it, there's nothing to do here. Okay, so that was Cardano. And let me do the other one, DOT, Polkadot. I haven't looked at DOT in a little while. So let me just do DOT. So here is, hold on, I like to look at USDT. All right, it's pretty much the same thing. All right, so here's the situation. With DOT, you have the failed breakout. All right, this is it right there, failed breakout. I always tell people, if you take the breakout, which is not my favorite type of trade, but it is a valid trade. If you take the breakout and your next candle is red, not a good idea to stay in it. All right, because it's a failed breakout. All these longs jumped in, they're all getting out, and now you stay in it with hope mode, you're going to get stuck in this, right? Very typical. Okay, fine, no problem. So if you're interested in DOT, right now you're in the middle of the range. That's not a bad place after an attempted breakout. I like when it goes back into the middle. Usually you'll find support there, and there it is with the long tail. Okay, fine. That's not the best candle to take the trade on, though. You probably should wait, for another candle to develop in this area. But if you close like this and you take out the candle high, 42.5, that's a buy, technically a buy signal, just not at the best price, okay? If that turns red or you break below the middle of the range, because your risk will be defined by 33, then you're looking at the range low, which is around $28, okay, around here. That's what you're dealing with something like this, okay? Again, try to use Bitcoin as your leader for this too. If Bitcoin can turn around, then this thing may have some legs. Keep in mind, these things take a while. They're taking a really long time to do their thing, especially after they've had their initial surge. They've been in these range-bound situations. And keep in mind, if Bitcoin goes into a wave 4, you're going to see a lot of false starts. You're going to see a lot of buy and sell signals. In that situation, if we are in a broad wave range 4, what you need to focus on are the broader levels, right? You're going to have a range low, and you're going to have a general lower support area, and you're going to have a general higher resistance area. And that's really what you're going to have to keep an eye on. That's what I'm going to be watching on Bitcoin, okay? And until we clear that zone, which can take a really long time, I'm going to be anticipating a lot of false starts and all that kind of stuff, which means do we just not trade them? No. What we'll be doing is we'll be adjusting our targets and our expectations. And probably being more selective with the signals that we do take. I mean, that's how you have to get around a wave 4. They're very hard to trade through. And people that don't know any better, they're going to treat every signal like it's part of a trend. And it's, you know, in a range-bound market, the context is different. You have to adjust. Okay, so cool. I'm going to leave it at that because I've been talking too much. And, you know, I can go on for hours and hours and hours. And I know some people here are in countries where it's like midnight and you have to go to sleep. Okay, so thank you all very much. If I missed your question, I apologize. Come to my next stream. Every Monday I'm simulcasting on TradingView. You can also find me in other places during the week. Okay, you can look for me, and we'll leave it at that. All right. So again, thank you so much. Like I said, if I missed your question, just share it again at some point, and hopefully I can answer it. Thank you all for spending your day, your evening with me, wherever you are in the world. And thank you for all your great questions and all your great support and everything else. Okay. So enjoy the rest of your day, and thank you so much for watching.